Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode here at the Kickpod Dojo, the podcast dojo for inspirational fit or martial arts talk. I am your host, TJ Williams, fourth degree black belt in the Chuck Norris system, here to give you the insider of my martial arts journey, discussing and analyzing martial arts based subjects and highlight individuals involved in martial arts, all styles, past, present, and future. All right. So, for those who are just joining me for the first time, this is a pre recorded episode. So, whatever I talk about in this episode is either is coming up or is done past. So, of course, just to give everybody an update of my condition, I've been keeping everybody at least posted about my recovery from surgery. So everything looks like it's looking up. I'm be able to bend my knee 90 degrees almost. And the only thing left is therapy to get the strength back to my legs. So that's the main thing. So I gotta be able to run again. But I'm able to walk on a treadmill. So that's a plus. So I mean, always try to find things around, try and find a way to around things so you can be able to get a good fitness workout. But anyway, kind of getting into my episode, I have a guest with me right now. Of course, he comes from Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and of course, you talk about somebody with a lot of hats. And this guy has been in martial arts since he was 10 years old, getting various black belts in different styles of martial arts, including the Chuck Norris system. Right, and of course, he's a United States Marine Corps veteran, and he served proudly in the country. And of course, after serving, he went on to have various jobs in law enforcement, which yeah, that's a plus. And lastly, and for those you want to talk about heroes, he definitely volunteered his services to volunteer for the Ground Zero event after 9/11. So that's definitely a real heroism accomplishment. And then from there, lastly, he went on to be in a firefighter after having that inspiration of helping those of after 9/11. So may I introduce everybody here to David. I'm gonna say this. I'm bad with last name. Help me out.
I am too. Sinopoli. Yeah,
Sinopoli. Yeah, there it is.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah, yeah,
Sinopoli.
yeah,
Oh, like
yeah,
Monopoly.
yeah. Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's the
Yeah,
thing. When it comes to pronunciation, I'm not good at it,
I'm
but I
horrible.
yeah,
I am horrible at it, and I'm like, I always apologize first. Please help me out, just like you did.
yeah. So right,
Yeah,
Dave Sinopoli. There it is. Got
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So how we doing today?
Good. How you doing?
Yeah, I know that's a long introduction. I had to take a big deep breath.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I wore a lot of hats.
Yeah. So of course, how's things going for you for over in Massachusetts?
Good. Weather's starting to change, getting a little colder,
Hmm.
but it's going all right. You? How's it going with you?
Yeah, same thing. Like the weather's getting
Yeah,
cold. I mean, that's where my energy gets low. I need, I
me
need,
too.
I
I
need
get
hot weather.
depressed. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do too. I do too.
yeah.
I
I
do
mean,
too. Makes my body feel better in the hot weather too. My body feels really good.
yeah. That's why I like Vegas. I mean, that weather.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Nothing hurts when I'm there. It's when I'm coming get off the plane. I'm like, oh, oh, oh.
uh, yeah, it's like I know it's been like a while since I've been to Massachusetts. Well, of course, that's like the last time I took my black belt
Yeah,
test. So yeah, so we're looking at roughly 4 years, almost 4 years.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's coming up. So yeah.
yeah.
All right. So of course, you are you've been through all this martial arts, but let's go back in time with you. You're going to take us back in time.
Sure.
So how would you describe yourself um before getting the martial arts? So who were you before uh Dave Sinopoli was born?
I was this insecure, overweight, had bright orange hair and freckles, and I had low self-esteem. I got picked on horribly, uh, and that's what led me to martial arts to start.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like that's the same journey I went through. Heavy,
Yeah,
overweight. People just like pick me as a target, and
yeah,
mostly it's just not just kids. It's just mostly adults that they.
yeah, yeah. It's sad.
Yeah. So how would you? Well, what was that one interest that? Well, other than being bullied, like what was that one event that got you interested in martial arts?
So I saw a Chuck Norris movie and I saw Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon. And then I would stay up and I watched one time I stayed up and watched PKA kickboxing and I was like, oh my God, these guys are like, that's who I want to be. That's what I want to do. I saw the way that Grandmaster Norris would handle himself, just positive and confidence. And like, that's it. That's what I want. I want to be like that, you know? And that's what started it. I'm like, yeah, I want to be like Grandmaster Norris. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's like the almost like the envy that you, well, definitely that's like the push and getting into martial arts. It's like you got Mr. Norris, Bruce Lee, like all these martial artists that say
Yeah.
I get
Yeah. It's funny because I was telling somebody else, I said, all the other kids had like, football players, hockey and baseball that were like their heroes, people they looked up to. I had posters, Chuck Norris, Joe Louis, Bill Wallace, Benny, like all the top karate people. Nobody knew who they were except for me, but I was like, those are the guys I want to be like.
yeah. I mean, I understand, of course, you started taking martial arts like before you got into the service, you started taking martial arts at
I
10
did.
years old. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I took a style called Weichiru karate. It's very hard, traditional Japanese style, a lot of body conditioning, but I credit that to being able to take a lot of shots and good foundation stuff. I almost wish I had stayed with it, even though I was wrestling and doing other stuff, but it got kind of busy at that time.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you can like remember your first lesson. I mean, I
I
know it was,
can, yeah.
yeah,
I was in awe. I was like, I'm actually in here. I got this uniform on. This is what I've been dreaming of, and this is cool. And then, like the style I took was so traditional. I didn't really understand it, and I couldn't figure out why we weren't doing all the cool stuff that like Grandmaster Norris was doing. Like it's very straightforward. Then I started to understand martial arts more, and I'm like, okay, I get it.
yeah, that's pretty much the same way I was, but I didn't get a uniform when I first started. I just like was me the t-shirt and jogging pants. That's
Yeah,
how, yeah. And I think I remember it's like it's almost close. I'm going like 26 years now. So yeah.
yeah,
So,
that's a long time. Yeah,
um,
that's awesome.
yeah, something for me to do. Uh,
Yeah, that's a good accomplishment, though. You think about it, the percentage of people that actually continue on, it's not a huge percentage. So to be able to say you've been training that long, that's a huge accomplishment.
yeah, and of course my body's giving up for me. I mean,
Yeah, I hear you, but you know what? You're still doing it, though, right?
yeah.
Still
Uh,
doing it.
yeah, I say
Yeah,
it's better to follow a king with scars than a king without scars.
exactly.
Yeah. Yes,
Battle wounds. Yeah,
I'm still a king, still fighting
yeah,
king. I mean, I may have
good.
one leg, but I'm still fighting king.
Hey, you know what? Superfoot had one leg. He figured it out. You know what I mean? Became like world class champ. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna kind of get to that later because I know you
Okay.
have a super Bill Superfoot Wallace something are coming up this week.
Yep. Friday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna get back to that, but we're gonna get more into highlighting you. So
Sure.
what was your mindset after that first class?
I was overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God. But at the same time, I was like, this is what I was meant to do. I just knew from that first class, this is what I was meant to do. And I'm going to just keep on doing this. And I was so excited. I couldn't sleep that night. I went home and practiced for like another 2 hours, 3 hours. Mother's like, come on, you got to get the best. I'm like, I got to keep practicing. I got to get this down. But yeah, I was just like pumped. I had immediate confidence. I'm like, man, I'm doing what I want to do. Be like those guys. I'm gonna project my confidence, and I was pumped.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much me when I started up. I mean, I was so enthusiastic that I'm actually starting martial arts.
Yeah,
Like after all the influences I had in my life, and then
yeah,
of course here I am now. I'm bringing that same influences to kids. And, I don't want to be that monotone
yeah,
instructor saying like same thing. Like, I want
yes,
them. I want to have them energy. That's what I want them to have.
exactly. So I tell my students, I said, look, at my first karate instructor, you couldn't talk, you couldn't do anything. He was very hard on us. I said, I don't want to be like that because I didn't learn good like that personally. I need a little bit more, like not easy, but like more human to the kids. Like, hey man, this is how you do it. Don't, instead of being like, don't talk, keep your mouth shut. I'm like, yeah, I don't like that style.
Yeah, but of course you want students to make things. You want to make things attainable for students also.
Yes, yes, and it seems like, and you can probably agree with this, but they learn better when you're a little bit more relaxed. Not that you're lack on discipline, but you're just not that like, shut up, do what I'm told. Not that type of person, but like, and they respond better and they learn better and they feel good about it afterwards instead of being like, that guy was mean, I don't want to go back. Like, I don't want that at all.
Yeah, and also the one thing you want to also avoid is like almost nepotism. You see that one student doing so good,
Yes.
and then of course, and
Yes.
you got the other students that doing poorly, but it's
Yeah.
almost a back and forth ping pong match. It's like,
Yeah, it is. And
yeah,
it's like, and then you leaves you questioning yourself, like, man, am I not teaching them right? Am I doing something wrong? Because they're not where this other student is. And like, and I used to get bothered by that, but then I realized that everybody's different. Everybody's got their own, they learn fast, some learn faster than others, some it's just as good as they're gonna be for right now. And it used to also bother me when students would leave. I'm like, man, what did I do wrong for them to leave? It's just part of the circle of life, they just try it and whatever.
I mean that's the one thing that we try to do as martial arts instructor is try to keep them away from technology as much because it's pretty much
Yes.
technology is taking over.
Yes. And I was very fortunate because when I decided that I wanted to start teaching again and I got in with the Chuck Norris organization, it was right after COVID, right at the tail end. And I said, all right, let's try this again. And I opened up my first month, I had 50 students sign up. All the parents were like, we need to get them away from technology. They need to be doing other things. I'm like, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, around my time, all I had was like a big screen TV, Nintendo. I mean, not
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
nowadays, it's like boring. It's like I don't even want to play video games. It's like
Yeah.
I got to do something.
Yep. Exactly. Too much of that is like kids don't even go outside anymore, and do
Exactly.
stuff. It's like to ask a child to go climb a tree. Like, why would I do that? Like what? It's like, just go outside and play. Why? It's like, generation.
Yeah.
You know.
Uh, all right. Can you like tell you like what's your favorite moments or like you probably have a ton of favorite moments, but what would be the
Yeah.
one that really gets you?
Martial arts wise, the day that I actually got to meet Grandmaster Norris, that was like a huge, like, I was on, like, I think for the following weeks, I still couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, I just met my hero, like one of my heroes. I'm there with him. So that was big for me. And getting my black belt in his system, I've been trying to get that for so long. And then it finally all came together. So that's a big one.
Yeah, I think for me, like it's like for my first degree, I think I'm going like 16 or 17 years, like next week that then I did my first degree black belt test. And of course, yeah, that was like probably my best moment. It was like I
Yeah.
took the test right, like not right after a football game, like the day after a football game, my high school football game. It's like really, I was hoping not to get hurt, but luckily I
Yeah.
didn't. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I was all geared up for this test.
Yeah. I was like that. All my tests, I went to Greece with Grandmaster Joe Lewis and for like 12 or 13 days, and we did seminars over there. And the day we got back, he said, "Put your gloves on." Now we just flew X amount of hours. I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "Because it's time. You're testing for black belt, and you got to spar. The final test is to spar with him for 4 rounds." And he stood across me and said, "Hey, there's only two ways you can fail this test. Don't quit. Don't get knocked out." And I was like, "Oh boy." So yeah, but I was tired. But all my tests, even the Chuck Norris, I was exhausted after that test. I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I gotta get in better shape.
Yeah. It's like for me, for that fourth degree test, I was like really getting prepared, like like not like technique wise, but like fitness wise, because I know
Yeah,
it's like it takes it out of you, like all
it
your
takes it
energy.
really out of it. I started learning fast that like UFAF 2, I blow all my energy on that form because it's a little bit longer. I'm really trying to put everything into it. And they call it the next form. I'm like, yeah, just give me a minute. Give me a minute. But I don't want to be like that. I just want to be like, yeah, no problem. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean that was me. Like, of course, I was like the main attraction at my last test because the other two people that was testing with was going for third. I was going for fourth. That's like the last physical test. So they were
Yeah.
they would put me to work. Like they would
Yeah, I'm
say,
sure.
yeah, even stuff
Yeah.
that wasn't on the test, they put extra stuff on there. It's like,
Yeah.
and I just did
That
it anyway.
I'll tell you, the Chuck Norris organization, probably the hardest testing I've ever went through was with them. That was hard. Like there was a lot. It was hard, but it was rewarding. It was very rewarding. So
Yeah. So does it kind of like bother you with most of these karate studios that basically just give away belts, like McDojo?
yes,
Yeah.
we were just talking about that. I got a school out by me that like every 2 months, whether you're ready or not, you get promoted. It's all about the money, and it's just like you get kids they make black belt in like 2 years, like don't know how to do anything. And I'm like, you see a lot of kids that are like 10 years old that are third or fourth degree black belts. I'm like, what the heck? How is that possible? It's like bad.
Yeah, it's like you want to make it attainable for these students. You want to make sure
Yeah.
they know all the techniques of their tests. You just don't want
Yes.
them to show
Yes.
up and then they don't have no idea. This is like when I talk about self-defense. The big thing about self-defense is yeah, no, you want them to be know what they're doing when they're doing a self-defense technique. So that's something that I would like teach my students. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you all right there?
Hear you though.
Yeah, you can still hear me?
Hey, yeah, gotcha now.
Yeah, I mean a little freeze there.
Yeah. Yeah, like you were saying, it's like students are a reflection of their instructor, and you definitely don't want to put out bad students, it's like, no, you want them to have good basics, good foundation, and be able to do well. Them other places are like, we don't care, just give us your money. It's like crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want my students go out there, get hurt, and that they don't know what they're doing. So yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I would say like describe your first black belt test, but you already mentioned it already, so you had to go through all. Well, what about the other styles that you already took? Were there like different types of black belt tests?
Yeah. So with Joe Louis, it was all about combinations and hard sparring. You had to know your stuff, and you had to be able to stand with him. It
Oh no.
was different, totally different. You threw thousands and thousands of kicks with one leg. You weren't allowed to switch your leg during the test. So you were like, I was dry heaving at the end of that one. He just kept calling out kicks for like 4 hours. We were just like kick nonstop. I got belts in Taekwondo and American Kempo. They were pretty straightforward. When you were ready, you tested, you just had to know your material. They weren't as physically demanding as like the Chuck Norris and the Joe Louis and the Bo Wallace, but
It looks like we got some technical difficulties going around here. Up. We'll keep
white did competition.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, we're having a little technical difficulties a little bit, but I'm keep going with this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, but nevertheless, of course, like there's always different types of black belt tests. But let's kind of go with your career with law enforcement. Like after you get out of the army, you become like all these you got all these law enforcement jobs. So can you tell me what your favorite one is?
So I'd have to say when I went to work for state police run narcotic unit for 6 years, so I ended up working with them full time. That was the best because at that time, like prior to that, I was watching all Miami Vice. I know I'm dating myself, but Miami Vice, like I'm like, man, that's so cool. I would love to do that one day. And then here I am. They approached me and be like, hey, we want somebody for the narcotic unit. I'm like, sign me up. But it was really cool. I did some undercover stuff. We kicked in a lot of doors. We locked up a lot of people. We had high-speed chases and just like all kinds of, foot chases. It was exciting. It was really exciting. So that was like probably my highlight, my law enforcement.
Yeah, I don't think I was born when Miami Vice came out, but that became one of my favorite shows when I started watching
it. So cool. I was like, I want to do that. Well, of course, we were all sitting around TV going, I want to do that. And then I got the chance. I'm like, I'm doing it. This is so cool.
Yeah. That show had like the best soundtrack.
My God, it was amazing. That one episode when Phil Collins in the air tonight will be legendary for everybody,
Yeah. Yeah, that was like what was that one? I'm trying to think of like a lot of episodes. Yeah, that episode and like that's he was a guest on one episode, was he? Yeah, Phil Collins.
Yeah, he was. He was like, I don't know I can't remember if he was like a drug dealer or what, but he was on there.
Oh yeah. Wait a minute, he was like a game show host or something. Then
he was on Miami Vice too. Yeah, he was. It was cool. I was like, oh, it's Phil Collins. That is cool.
Man, it's like so many guest stars. That was like almost like Law and Order back then.
Yeah. I was like, man, every week they had somebody like big name on there. I was like, this is such a good show.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's kind of go into like your current status. Of course, now you have cutting edge martial arts center.
Yes.
So
Yep. So I was retired from the fire department for medical reasons, and I just decided to dive into teaching more. You know, and like I said, we opened up right after COVID. First month we had 50 kids sign up, and we're close to we're at 100 right now, so it's going really well, and our retention rate's been great because everybody that signed up with us uh, at the end of COVID is still with us, maybe with the exception of two or three.
yeah. And
So
of
it's
course,
going well.
yeah. So of course, yeah, you got. Let's talk about the Superfoot seminar you got going on. So yeah,
Yeah, he's coming up on Friday. I gotta go pick him up Friday morning. He'll come up to my school, and he's gonna actually teach my kids class, my youth class for me, and then he'll do an adult seminar after. But he's such like he's so like crazy with that front leg that people are like, man, you got a guy that kicks 60 miles an hour with that one leg, and he'll tell you how it's coming, and you still can't stop it. Even at Bill's got to be 74 now, maybe, and he's still lightning fast. He still does the splits, and I'm like, so we're excited. A lot. I just want the kids. It's like with Grandmaster Norris. I'm always telling the kids, like, these are the people that paved the way to do what you do right now. You're able to do martial arts that's popular because of these people. Like Chuck Norris, Joe Louis, but all those people. So it's important for them to know who these people are. They paved the way.
yeah. I always mention like to my students about like of course he's mostly I talk about of course you train with the late Gene LaBelle. I always mention
Gene
him.
LaBelle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Gene LaBelle was super nice man. I was lucky enough to meet him in California and hit it off, but he was like, I mean, you're talking about a guy that put Bruce Lee in a headlock and Bruce Lee couldn't get out. And afterwards, Bruce Lee's like, teach me, please teach me. So Gene's been around. He taught everybody. Super nice man.
yeah. I understand he trained a lot of professional wrestlers. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, he had quite a career. Like he had his own wrestling career. He was a big catch style wrestler, and like he got challenged by so many people, but he was just an amazing martial artist in person, and a stunt man. Look at all the movies he's in, stunt guy. I always think about like a couple of the movies he's in. I'm like, oh God, that's Gene LaBelle. Like one of the Rush Hours, he's like a cab driver. So I
yeah.
was like, oh, there's Gene LaBelle. So it's kind of cool. It's sad, that people don't realize that, these guys aren't going to be around forever. And, every opportunity you can, go see them or at least meet them, train with them, so you can have that memory.
Yeah, yeah, like you mentioned, like all these people that were like famous. Like that's why I go to these comic
Yeah.
cons to meet them. You know,
Yes. Yep. Yep. I met a lot of guys, and I always, every opportunity I can, I go train with them. If they're within reason, if I can get to them, I'll go train with them. I just want to not be able to say like, man, I wish I had spent more time with them, or I wish I trained with them more when they're gone. And I'm like I said, they're not going to be around forever. So it's like train when you can, hang out with them when you can, so you have those memories.
yeah, that kind of brings me to my next thing. The ITC is the International Train Conference. I mean, of course, how many times you've
Yeah,
been? How many times you've been there? Like,
I've only been twice, and I know you've been every year pretty much, right? But I gotta tell you, out of all the martial arts events I've been to, I was telling my instructor Steve Giroux that I said this is by far the best event I've ever been to. Not only was it well run, but everybody there treats you like family, like they've known you your entire life. And I love that, because you know how it is. You go to other places and people got egos and chips on their shoulders and like, who's this guy? Like I was a newbie and people were like, hey, coming up to talking to me. I'm like, this is so amazing. It's like a family. It really is like a family. And I'm like, this is exactly what I've been searching for a lot of years. This.
yeah, let's kind of talk about this year's ITC, the 2022 yeah.
Sure.
So of course we had so many great seminars. Like of course
Yeah.
one of course Jeff Smith. That was like seminar that
Jeff's
was
amazing. Jeff, Joe Corley, those guys always are, even at their age, they still can move. And that makes me like says, okay, when I get to that age, I'll be good. I can still do that. But those guys are amazing. Everything they say, You hang on it by a thread. You're like, oh my God, that was so awesome.
Man, I think that year was like more of a learning experience for me, other than having like the seminars, I had the MDS I had to worry about. Of course, with
Yeah.
this upcoming ITC, it's like that's gonna be a big one for me if I'm elected for the master rank. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would keep my eye on the performances to see what I can come up with. I had like all these ideas in my head and see if I could get some good music going. So
Yeah.
that's
Well, you're talented. Si. You're talented. You'll come up with something awesome. And I'll be there cheering you on.
yeah. Yeah, so I gotta make sure I get this knee at 100% and then do my
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. You'll get there. I know you will.
Yeah,
You're determined. You're determined like me. Like I've got to get back out there quick as fast as I can. I'm going to do what I get to do it right.
yeah. That's the great thing about me and you, of course. That this past year we both was nominated for most inspirational, and of course, you won it, and yeah, so that was like a great accomplishment for you. And I said,
Yeah, it was
and yeah,
big.
yeah. So when Mr. Gallagher started talking like this, and I looked over you, and then gave the thumbs up. It's like, yeah, you won. Yeah,
But I still didn't like it. Still didn't register because I'm like, they can't be talking about me. And then when he started reading the bio, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I was in the Marine Corps too. Oh, I did that too. Oh, I did that too. I'm like, wait a minute, are they talking about me? And I looked at Steve Giroux, my instructor, and he's like, yeah, they're talking about you. I was like,
yeah.
I still was. I was. And then when I went up there, it was like I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this actually happened. And for weeks and weeks, I'm like, did that really happen? I had to keep looking at the picture. I'm like, man, that was like something out of a dream, like what an amazing, just to be on stage with them and be like recognized for that. I was like, wow, I almost it did start crying a little bit. I was like, oh my gosh, couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, for me being, I was like, of course, nominated. This is like the second time I was nominated, so I'd be surprised if I get nominated again and actually win it. So that'd be surprise. Yeah,
Yeah, you probably will. You do a lot. You do a lot for a lot of people, a lot of kids. You're involved in a lot of stuff. I did not know that that was going to happen. I didn't even know I wasn't up until that point. I almost couldn't make it to the ITC. And then I opened my email and said, wait a minute, somebody nominated me for this award. I said, well, I guess, I'm going to have to go just because I'd feel horrible if they called my name and I wasn't there. I'd be like, oh, but I told myself that unless something happens, I'm going to go to the ITC every year because it's such an amazing event, great people, and you always learn something there. Always, always. And I feel at home. I feel like everybody's my brother and sister. I'm like, oh, this is like my family.
yeah. It's like I'm like all geared up for it. It's like definitely money wise, I want to at least be financially I'm ready for this, and
Yes.
then
Yeah.
of course, other than competition wise, I was almost close to making the grands if I didn't lost by an inch. So yeah,
Yeah. Me too. Last year I lost all my matches when I sparred, and I said when I left at the conference on my way home on the airplane, I'm telling myself I'm coming back next year, and it's going to be a different story. I'm going to start training as soon as I get home, and I did. And I did well. I made it to the grands, but I got knocked out, but by some talent. Mark Myers, super talented,
yeah.
and he is definitely top shelf, man. He is like really good. So I didn't feel bad because I lost to a guy that was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean that's another person I like to get on the podcast because me and him has like a similarity. So
Yes, the wrestling, the martial arts, yeah. He's like just talking to him. That guy's got so much experience. He's been around a long time. Super nice guy. He like uh, last year he's like, hey, if you're ever in Virginia Beach, stop by my school, man. You can come work out. And I was like, wow, that's really awesome. And he was recently in Boston, outside of Boston. He sent me a message and said, oh, I was going to swing by your school, but you're like 3 hours away. You're at the other end of the state. I'm like, oh, I know that would be awesome if you could, though. But it's not like people think that like Boston's like where everybody lives. I'm like, I literally live at the other end of the state along the New York border. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. If I could actually reach him, I could probably get him on the show because definitely me and him will go
yeah,
back and forth. Yeah.
yeah, he's definitely an interesting guy, man. Definitely super
Uh,
nice too.
uh,
Super nice.
all right. So throughout your journey, who would you say you look up to?
Definitely Grandmaster Norris. That's the top 3 or 4 would be Grandmaster Norris first, Joe Louis, Bill Superfoot Wallace, and Benny Urquidez. And of course Jeff Smith, Joe Corley, like the list is like endless. But those guys and Bruce Lee, even though I obviously never met him, but he had such an influence on me and probably everyone else who watches the movie. I mean, I think I've seen Enter the Dragon like 2,000 times,
Mhm.
like so. But yeah, those are people that really had an influence on me. And and then my current instructors, Steve Drew. I train with Walt Lysak Jr., who's I've been with for 34 years, and those guys too. They make it. So like I definitely I have that like white belt attitude again. Like, man, I just want to learn. I want to be a sponge again. I'm not getting burned out, and I'm like on the high again. I'm like and I thank them for that.
Uh, yeah, and speaking of Bruce Lee, I mean, I understand you trained a little bit in Jukudo, right?
Yeah, I did. A couple of my instructors were in the Jeet Kune Do, and of course, Grandmaster Lewis, Joe Lewis, he trained with Bruce Lee directly for a lot of years. And in the end, when they got Bruce Lee's logbook, because he logged everybody he trained with, Joe Lewis was one of the guys that had like the most hours in there. To my knowledge, he was one of the guys that had some of the most hours. So I had like this direct path to Joe Lewis that was with Bruce Lee. And Joe would teach Jeet Kune Do sometimes before he got into his own stuff. My instructor teaches Jeet Kune Do, and I got into it. I liked it, and I kind of blended into everything else I do, some of the drills and stuff. But it's definitely cool.
Yeah, and I think I seen in one of your bios that you trained with Kathy Long a little bit, right?
Kathy Long goes to so every year the Joe Lewis organization, like the Chuck Norris organization, has a conference in Virginia Beach, and Kathy Long is part of that, and she's just such a nice person and a tremendous martial artist. Like she is like what you imagine martial arts should be. She's it, like she's very talented. She's very tough, like she still moves fantastic. And she, like I said, she's just like a super nice person. She's another one that acts like she's known you your whole life. When you meet her, you're like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, I had her on a show like previously, and then actually she's like the record holder. Like me and her went from like an hour and 37 minutes, so that's the
Yeah,
longest episode. Yeah,
she's so interesting to talk to. Like she's done a lot of stuff. Think about it. She was on Walker, Texas Ranger. She was on, a lot of different shows. She'd make a cameo and stuff. But she's so interesting to talk to. She's just definitely a great, great person.
yeah. Now, one thing I just learned about her, like she was like the stunt woman for Catwoman, and the Batman Returns. So that's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I just recently heard that, and I'm like, that is so cool. Another thing you don't know about these people is, like, wow, that's awesome. Like she's like been around.
mm, yeah. It's like really like I try to get like a lot of famous people. Like I got her, and then I
Yeah,
got Chris Kazamaza, of course. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Chris has been around too. He's like done a lot of stuff. That he could tell you some stories. I'm sure he probably did. Like
yeah. I mean, it was only like a 20-minute interview, but that was like the best 20 minutes I ever got.
yeah. I was gonna say like that guy's like his even his family is famous. His father started the whole the system and run with it. But they seem like they're just really nice people too. I haven't met really a lot of bad people in the martial arts. Every once in a while, you get a few bad apples, but you know what? They're like that in any profession. I had them in the fire department. I had them in the police department. Every profession gets a few bad apples.
Yeah, definitely. Right.
Yeah.
All right. So before we kind of go into our hidden dojo segment of the interview, here's like the last question. What
Sure.
inspirational quote best describes your journey?
Lead by example. That one would be a big one for me. I was always taught coming up, lead by example, lead by example. And I don't want to be one of those instructors that gets out there and just says points, says do this. I always want to show them, because every instructor I've had and still have today, they're out there on the mat doing it. And I want to set the example for them. They're like, hey, lead by example, be an inspiration to people.
Yeah. And that's where it leads both of us is most inspirational. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's more than being inspirational. It's like you're doing things outside of martial arts as well.
Yeah, and I don't think people, like a lot of people don't realize that it just doesn't stop in the dojo. It's like you're outside of martial arts, you're still helping people, you're still trying to connect with people, and you're still trying to like just project your positive energy to everybody. It's just like you want to help everybody, you want to do things for everybody, and a lot of people think it just stops in the dojo, like, oh, he's only that nice. And no, like I'm out in the public all the time doing whatever I can. I always offer to like law enforcement and any people like that, like, hey, come on in, man, I'll show you a couple things, it might save your life one day, or even kids that are troubled kids or whatever. So always giving back, that's what it's about, and always giving back.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing with my instructor, John Presti. Yeah, he's
He's a
like,
great guy, he is such a nice man, he is such a nice guy,
yeah,
very talented too.
yeah, no, he can't but teach as much as he used to, but I'm there at least trying to get like at least kind of almost take over for him, or at least kind of help him out.
Yeah, those guys like that, like Mr. Presti, they have so much knowledge that I tell people, be around those people, because they have so much knowledge. They may not physically be able to do a lot of stuff, but the knowledge they have that you can get from them is priceless.
Yeah, of course, there's no price in defending yourself.
No, that you can't, and it's hard to tell people that, like a lot of people, because you know how it is. People always have that. It'll never happen to me, and it'll never happen here. I said, and I always tell people, I'm like, you don't think the people that got attacked or murdered or something bad happened to them said the same thing at some point in their life, and there they are walking out. There it is. I said, crime doesn't pick and choose, where you live, who you are. It doesn't care. I'd rather be prepared than not be prepared at all. They always say, like, hey, geez, do you want to like just surrender to it all, or you want to have some sort of skill where you can defend yourself and get out of there? Like, that's a no-brainer. It's like, wow, yeah, I want to be able to defend myself. I want to go home at the end of the day and see my family. And
Yeah, that's why I always tell my students, like, what's your goal, like after you leave like school or cry? It's to go home. And I say,
yeah,
what's your mindset? Is your mindset what you're gonna do when you get home, or am I gonna make it home? Yeah.
yeah, mindset. And like when I teach self-defense classes, I get in the first half, I do, and I know people get bored, but I talk about the most important part: your mindset and your ability to pay attention to your surroundings and to understand your body language as well as somebody else's. If your gut's telling you something's off, man. There's a reason why your body's telling you that. But and I know people roll their eyes and they're like, oh, he's going into it. I'm like, but this is really important, because that in itself is a skill. That's a skill. And it's hard to teach people that. So, but yeah, I say the same thing. You always want to be able to go home at the end of the day. You want to be able to go home safely.
Yeah, you want to go by what sounds good to be true, but almost like your heart kind of gives you that
Yeah.
signal.
When I was back to when I was working narcotics, and even when I worked inside the jail, I got into a lot of. I've had guns pulled on me, I've had knives pulled on me, and how your mindset. I could have been like, oh God, but my mindset was like, I'm going home, so I got to do whatever I have to do to get out of this situation. But I am going home at the end of the day, so that's huge.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm definitely going to continue with that with self-defense with my kids, and make
Yeah,
sure.
it's important. It's really important. I know, and it's hard, with the kids. You know how it is. Like you start teaching them the forms and stuff. Like, well, we want to really do the self-defense stuff. I'm like, all this is important. It's all important. You'll get there. So
Yeah, that all leads to that self-defense.
yeah, yeah, it really does.
Uh, yeah, definitely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we just reached our hidden dojo segment of the interview. This is where things get fun for we're gonna learn the fun things about David here. So I got 7 questions for you. So
Sure.
answer that to the best of your ability. All right, here we go.
Sure.
So the first question is what's the best piece of advice you ever gotten and who said it?
That would have to be Grandmaster Joe Lewis. His was never give up, no matter how bad things are. Never give up. Never quit.
So that's good. I mean, that's all. Yeah, never give up.
Yeah, never give up. Never quit. Never give up.
Hey.
I've had a lot, so that was hard because I've had a lot of good advice along the way from some great martial artists. But that one sticks out. Just never give up, man. Never give up.
Oh, good. Also, all right. The worst advice you've ever gotten?
The worst advice I ever gotten was probably from an old instructor. I won't mention names. Like, you don't really need to practice much. I'll just give you this rank. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna find another school.
Yeah, so that probably worst advice. I mean, you want, make
Worst
sure.
advice ever. Don't practice. You don't need to practice. This, just kind of fudge you. I'm like, no, fake it till you make it. I'm like, no.
No, that means that's like bad advice. I wouldn't give that advice to my students.
Yeah.
Never.
I actually there was two. I actually had a partner a long time ago, and this was back in the '90s. And he said to me one day, he said, "Hey, you want to raise some money for the Chuck Norris Kick Drugs Out of America?" I'm like, "Absolutely, I'm on board." He paused for a minute and said, "Yeah, we'll raise the money, then we'll keep it." And I was like, "What?" So that was a bad. I'm like, so he was a bad. In a way, that was his way. We parted ways, but like, so that was yeah, interesting.
And I'm surprised you didn't slap him.
I was very close, and I was like, I almost got a hold of the Chuck back then. Kick Drugs Out of America and say, "This is what this guy's trying to do," like. But I was like, I left him. I said, "We're done. We're not partners anymore. I need somebody with good moral character to be with, be around." So,
Well,
but yeah.
all right. Guilty pleasure. How do you reward yourself?
Oh my God, I am guilty of. I love my sweets, man. I reward myself with chocolate. I probably shouldn't, but I do. But that's how I reward myself. Like on that side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, most people with their guilty pleasures, usually food, or they like you want to take a long vacation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mine's definitely food. I'm a foodie, man. I just that's how I reward myself. I sometimes I emotionally eat. Sometimes after a good class, I'll be all on a high and be like, I'm gonna have that piece of cake next. I feel pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you got to at least have something. Like, really, you can't
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
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 you can't think all healthy all the time.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. What famous movie would you want to be in?
If I could go back in time,
Yeah.
or the Octagon with Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how about like a non-martial arts movie? What would you like to be?
Non-martial arts movie. I absolutely love the movie Big Trouble in Little China, and I would love to be in that movie. They look
Yeah.
like they had a ton of fun doing that. I've watched that a million times. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but I'm like, I absolutely love this movie. I don't. It's just something about it.
Yeah, I think I was watching that movies like a couple of days ago. It was on YouTube for free, and then of course I didn't remember the name of the movie, but I remember the guy exploding in that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I'm like, I don't know what it is. It's just something about that movie. I don't know.
I say like ironic humor, pretty much.
Yeah, it is. It is. And there's a ton of freaking, if you look at some of the people in that, like a ton of like martial artists in there that were extras and doing the scenes. I'm like, man, they look like they had fun doing it too. Like they look like they had fun.
Yeah, that was like I think I gotta watch that again. Really, it's
Yeah. I literally watch that movie like once a month. When I can't find nothing to watch, it's like my feel good movie. Like if I'm depressed about anything, I'm like, I'm gonna watch my feel good movie. Either that or my wife's like, "Oh my God, you're watching Chuck Norris stuff again." I'm like, "Yep."
yeah. I mean that's probably the one Kurt Russell movie I like to watch.
Kurt Russell, yeah, he was so good. And I've always been a fan of his since his early Disney days. Like when he was doing like World's Strongest Man, like way back when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's that movie, and then of course, what was it? Tango and Cash. That was
Tango and Cash, he was pretty good in Escape from New York. That was a little different for him, but yeah, Tango and Cash was funny. Of course, I had Sylvester Stallone too, who I love too. So
yeah, but mostly with Sylvester Stallone, it's the Rocky movies. Yeah.
yeah, Rocky, that's the big one. Rocky and Rambo. Yeah,
Oh,
and
oh
actually,
yeah.
yeah, Rocky and Rambo.
Yes. Thank goodness I got HBO Max because it's
I
on.
know, me
Yeah.
too. I'm like, yep. And
Hey.
I watch them over and over and over again. I swear, my wife's like, you could probably recite. I said, I can recite all the words, but it's just so, I love these movies.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, speaking of Rocky, I mean, my favorite one is Rocky 3 and 4. That was like the movie I like probably like
yes.
man.
Yeah. Clubber Lang. Clubber Lang was awesome. It's funny you say that because on came across Facebook today. They had these Clubber Lang boxing gym T-shirts, and I was like, "Wow, that's so cool!" You never hear about Clubber Lang.
Yeah, that's probably gonna be my like best celebrity encounter if I ever meet Mr. T. That would be
Yeah,
no.
yeah, he'd be a good one. He seems like a really nice guy. I met a long time ago. I met the guy that played in the A Team with him, Face Dirk Benedict. He was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably like to meet Carl. I would have had a chance to meet Carl Weathers this past summer,
Yes,
but yeah,
that's another good one, man. He seems like a nice guy too. Like he's had quite a career. I mean, he played professional football, and acting, and like I was like, man, those are people, and those are people you meet, and they're not a letdown. You know what I mean? Like they're like, wow, these are like great. They're just as nice as I thought they would be. Like this is awesome.
hey, yeah. Oh, here's the next question. Secret talent, or should I say,
Secret talent,
hidden talent.
hidden talent. Wow, I don't know. I outside of martial arts, man, I really like. I'm pretty athletic. I don't know if I have a hidden talent. Um, that's a tough one. Everything I've done revolves around martial arts. uh, I guess I'm really good with like old school music. Like we went to a trivia thing, and they play the first couple notes of the song, and I name the song and the title, and the person that made the song. And my wife's just looking at me. We won the whole night. We won. I was like, but I guess that would be it. I guess it's kind of corny, but I never thought about hidden talents. I'm pretty good at reading. I guess I'd have to say one of the things is reading people. My wife always says you have a talent to read people. I understand. I read them. I read their body language, and I always get a good feel and a good read off of people as soon as I meet them. I'm like, this person's really nice, or this person's not so nice. It's like that would be, I guess, a hidden gem.
Yeah, like I say, my hidden talent would say I'm like a Jedi. I know, like, and sense things coming, and the next thing you know, it appears
Yes.
in front of me. Yeah,
Yes, like you're aware because your awareness, you know what I mean? Like I'm the same way. And I tell people, like, look, you gotta watch, read people. Just read people. Go out someday and just sit down and watch and people watch and read them. Try to read
yeah.
them.
Yeah, it's like I watched so many movies in my life. If I think of a movie and then I come home, it's on TV. It's like that's
Yeah,
how.
isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then now we're talking about it. It'll be on watch Big Trouble in Little China. It'll come up as an ad on Facebook. You know how that
Oh,
goes.
okay. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. Dream celebrity encounter.
Dream celebrity encounter. Well, I met my biggest dream. That was Grandmaster Norris. I guess I'd have to say like Sylvester Stallone. I'd really like to meet him. That's
Yeah.
a big one for me. Yeah.
Yeah, probably him. And of course, I wish I actually met Carl Weathers because he was in Toronto over the summer in Fan Expo. So
Oh, that would
yeah,
have been cool. That would have been really cool. Yeah.
yeah. So really, I mean, he'll probably be back sooner or later. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely yeah, I've always been a fan of Sylvester Stallone, Clint Eastwood, people like that.
Oh, that's another one, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but I'm glad I actually met LeVar Burton. Like, really, that was like my dream
That's cool.
encounter.
That is really so. Those events are so because you could never get another chance to meet those people, like that. So those events are fantastic when you do get to meet people. You're like, wow, this is so cool. This is like, I'm meeting all these people. I see all your pictures. I'm like, that is so cool. I gotta start going to those Comic Cons and those things, man. That is so cool.
Yeah, no, that's a great advantage of me going to Canada. It's like it's always like rate exchange with money. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if somebody costs like $100 to meet, then that's like almost $80
Yeah.
American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's
Yep.
definitely good for me. All right, so here's the final question. All right, what's your future plans like 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I hope I'm still actively training and running a school with a lot of students. And I hope that I see all my students still with me and progress to the next level. And I spread the Chuck Norris system to as many people as I can and my knowledge and other styles to as many people as I can. That would be my biggest goal, that I'm still out there doing it. I'm 57 now, so I'm still trying to plug away. And 10 years from now, I want to still be doing it.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, definitely. I'd like to see you like how far your studio progresses. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I got to tell you, when I first started teaching about 10 years ago, I opened a school and I only had like 14 students forever. And it was very depressing. You feed off the energy when there's a lot of people in class. You're like energized. You're like, yeah, 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 yeah. Because you're like, all right. But I had, it was basically my son and all his friends. And I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. I was getting burned out. And then I just got the Chuck Norris system saved me. It reinvigorated me and I came back strong. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So before we kind of close off, is there any last minute words you'd like to tell our listeners out there?
Yeah, just don't quit. Keep going. You may get overwhelmed at times with things, but don't give up. Don't quit. Keep on, stay good, positive attitude. Don't get sucked into negativity. Your biggest uh, enemy is going to be between your ears. You're going to want to talk yourself out of training at times. You're going to make excuses. Don't do that. Stay positive. Get out there. Keep training. And don't quit.
Definitely don't quit. It's really there's no prize in quitting. Oh,
No, you run into a lot of people that quit like a long time ago, and they're like, the first thing they tell you is, I wish I had not quit. I wish I had stayed training. It's just
mhm.
like, hey, and I always tell them, you can still come back, man. It's always open door. Always come back and train. Don't worry about what you did before. Just start again. Keep
Yeah,
going, man. Martial arts is a beautiful thing. It teaches a lot about everything. And I hate to see people that quit and then years later be like, I should have stayed. I should have done this. Like, you didn't. So move on and just come on back. We'll work on it, man. Come on.
yeah, those definitely some good words. Definitely the listeners out there, really, if you quit martial arts and decide to come back, I mean, go for it. I mean, it's never too late.
Yes, yes. And people make excuses and say, like, I'm too old now, or I'm too this now, or I was better back then. No excuses. Just come on in, man. Martial arts hasn't changed. It's there for you. It's always going to be there for you. It's going to be there for everybody. It's been around for a long time. And just, it's such a beautiful thing that you just want everybody to experience it.
Yeah. So those are the words of wisdom of David. So definitely never quit. Don't play that jazz, everybody. That's some bad
Nope.
music to play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hey. Okay. Thank you. Oh, so thank you very much, Dave, for joining me in the
Thank you.
Kickpod.
Thank you
So
for having me.
all right, so I'm gonna do my little closing for my podcast. So, all right, everybody. So, for those who just tuned in, make sure you tune into my previous episodes on the BICBPRadio.com, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And I'll see you next time for another episode here at the Kick Pod. This is your host, TJ Williams, buying you out.